Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tire Vanachari Tire Vanachari Yamuna Tire Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janvalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannathai, Jagannathai, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Radha Vallabha, Radha Vallabha, Shri Radha. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Acharya Stotar, Śrīmad His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki, Nama Acharya Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Sakho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamas Loke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29. Talks between Narada and King Prachina Barhi. So we are at the end of this chapter. And there are these 4 verses which are given as a snippet at the end of this chapter, which are mentioned by other acharyas. The special note has been mentioned according to Vijayadvaja Tirtha, who belongs to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. The first 2 of the following verses appear after verse 45 of this chapter, and the remaining 2 verses appear after verse 79. So these are the additional snippets which are added to the chapter. So we'll read, we'll see if we can complete all the 4 verses, because they've got small purports or practically no purport. So we'll try to finish off the chapter today. Sarvesham eva jantunam satatam deha poshane asti prajna samayatha ko visheshastad narnam sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam deha poshane asti prajna samayatha ko visheshastad narnam sarvesham eva jantunam satatam deha poshane Vishesha Sanam Sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam deha poshane Asti prajna samayata Ko vishesha sadanam Sarvesham eva jantunam Satatam eva poshane Asti prajna satamata Vishesha satanam Sarvesham eva jantunam satatam eva poshane prajna shishya sadam Sarvesham eva jantunam Sarvesham, all, eva, certainly, jantunam, of animals, satatam, always, deha poshane, to maintain the body, asti, there is, prajna, intelligence, samayataha, resting on, kaha, what, visheshaha, difference, tada, then, nirnam, of the human beings. I'll read the second part of this verse, which is the translation is together. So, labdha vehante manushatvam hitva dehadi asad griham atma shritya vihayedham jivatma sa vishishyate. Translation: a desire to maintain body, wife and children is also observed in animal society. The animals have full intelligence to manage such affairs. If the human being is simply advanced in this respect, what is the difference between him and an animal? One should be very careful to understand that this human life is attained after many births in the evolutionary process. A learned man who gives up the bodily conception of life, both gross and subtle, will by the enlightenment of spiritual knowledge become a prominent individual spirit soul, as the Supreme Lord is also. Purport: it is said that man is a rational animal, but from this verse we can also understand that rationality exists even in animal life. What does rational mean? Literal term. What does rational mean? Sorry? Logical. So I was searching in the dictionary, what does rational mean? Google. So there were two things which combine together to become a rational. One is presence of mind, intelligence, and foresightedness. So they can make decision based on looking at the future. So that is rational. To become rational means you do something, but it's a calculative decision. You know what the outcome to a certain degree is going to be. So Srila Prabhupada is very carefully using the word rational here, because we see even animals are rational. They know, like, if they do something, they will get some outcome. They will get food, or they will get appreciation, whatever. So they are also rational, and so is the animal. So humans. So unless there is rationality, how can an animal maintain its body by working so hard? That the animals are not rational is untrue. Their rationality, however, is not very advanced. In any case, we cannot deny them rationality. The point is that one should use one's reason to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the perfection of human life. We'll read 1b and 2b as well. Bhakti Krishna daya jivesh akuntaha gnanam atmani yadishahad atmano bhuyad apavargastu samsritehe. If the living entity is developed in Krishna consciousness and is merciful to others, and if his spiritual knowledge of self-realization is perfect, he will immediately attain liberation from the bondage of material existence. So there are two things mentioned here. If the living being is developed in Krishna consciousness, that's one, and is merciful to others, and so that's one thing, developed in Krishna consciousness and merciful to others, and if his spiritual knowledge of self-realization is perfect, so his knowledge of self-realization is perfect, then when these two things happen, he will immediately attain liberation from the bondage of material existence. Purport. In this verse, the words Daya Jiveshu, meaning mercy to the other living entities, indicate that the living entity must be merciful to other living entities if he wishes to make progress in self-realization. This means he must preach this knowledge after perfecting himself and understanding his own position as the eternal servant of Krishna. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing on the process of preaching. Preaching this is showing real mercy to living entities. Other types of humanitarian work may be temporarily beneficial for the body, but because a living entity is a spirit soul, ultimately one can show him real mercy only by revealing knowledge of his spiritual existence. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Swarupaha Krishnera Nitya Das, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 20.108, every living entity is constitutionally a servant of Krishna. One should know this fact perfectly and should preach it to the mass of people. If one realizes that he is an eternal servant of Krishna but does not preach it, his realization is imperfect. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore sings, Dusta mana tumi kishera Vaishnava pratisthara tare nijanera ghare tava harinama kevala kaitava. My dear mind, what kind of Vaishnava are you? Simply for false prestige and a material reputation, you are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in a solitary place. In this way, people who do not preach are criticized. There are many Vaishnavas in Vrindavan who do not like preaching. They chiefly try to imitate Haridas Thakur. The actual result of their so-called chanting is a secluded place. However, is that they sleep and think of women and money. Similarly, one who simply engages in temple worship but does not see to the interest of the mass of people or cannot recognize devotees is called a Kanishta Adhikari. Acharyam eva haryate pujam yaha sraddhayat hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakritah smritaha. So this kind of devotees are known as prakrit bhaktas. And 2b, last one. Adrishtam drishtvan nangshed bhutam swapnaved anyatha bhutam bhaved bhavishyascha saptam sarva raho raha. Everything happening within time, which consists of past, present and future, is merely a dream. That is the secret understanding of all Vedic literature. Factually, all the material existence is only a dream. Thus, there is no question of past, present or future. Persons who are addicted to karmakanda vichara, which means working for future happiness through fruitive activities, are also dreaming. Similarly, past happiness and present happiness are merely dreams. In actual reality, thus the actual reality is Krishna and service to Krishna, which can save us from the clutches of Maya. For the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mam eva he prapadyante maya metam tarantite. Those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond my illusory energy. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tashmahe Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyasya Kripa Sindhubhaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, these 4 verses are like the concluding verses of this chapter. This whole pastime, that last 4 chapters we have been hearing, it is talking about King Prachina Bari. So, in the 24th chapter, we saw what happened in 24th chapter. Actually, in 23rd chapter, Prithu Maharaj is leaving, and then in 24th chapter. Sorry? That's right. So it begins with the descendants of Prithu Maharaj. And in the descendants of Prithu Maharaj comes Prachina Bhari. So this narration is going on between? No. That's right. There are multiple narrations going on here. But originally this narration is going on between? That's right. It's Sutta Goswami and the sages. But in this context, in 24th, it is mentioned, Maitreya Muni is speaking to Vidura. So, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is interesting. Like there is, so one thing is there, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is repeating what you have heard as it is. As Srila Prabhupada has given the title of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So there is no changes done. Except for the realizations have been added, but it's interesting like how different personalities and these great personalities are narrating what they have heard exactly from the previous acharyas. So this here in this chapter it is mentioned, 24th it is mentioned, this narration is going on between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, where Maitreya Muni is beginning with the descendants and then he is coming to the pastime of Prachina Bhari. Actually, in 24th chapter, it was the Prachetas. So the song sung by Lord Shiva is mentioned, and at the end of the 24th chapter, the Shruti Phal is mentioned. What is the Shruti Phal of hearing the song sung by Lord Shiva? And then in 25th chapter, the Prachetas implement whatever they have heard from Lord Shiva. It begins with the Prachetas implementing the instructions of Lord Shiva, and then the storyline changes a little bit, where Prachina Bhari comes in play. So the title of 25th chapter is the description of the characteristics of King Puranjana. So when Prachina Bhari was performing all these ritualistic activities, performing sacrifices, he was killing all the animals. At that time, the great sage Narad Muni, and we see here in this last 4 verses, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes on preaching. And one of the verses, the second last verse, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes on preaching. And we see how expertly Narad Muni preaches. So it's natural for a devotee to be compassionate. So the compassion and humility are the 2 ornaments of a devotee. So naturally, being compassionate, Narad Muni preaches to King Prachina Bhari, and then he instructs. He does not tell him directly, because Prachina Bhari is a very powerful king, and to instruct a king you have to be very tactical. If you just say you are wrong or you are fool, then your head could be cut off. Of course, Narad Muni is not worried about that, but still he tactfully, so that the ego of the king is not hurt, at the same time he is passing on the message to the king. So he tactfully instructs King Prachina Bhari he speaks about the story of Puranjana. And this Puranjana story is very similar to the story of Prachina Bhari. So he speaks about how King Puranjana was enjoying, he was with Avignata. Avignata was the super soul, Paramatma. So he was always accompanied by his friend Avignata, and he's going around from different places to find a suitable place for him to rule. And then he comes to this city of 9 gates, which is a human body. So in that pastime it is mentioned how the human body is very rare. Again, in this verse also, today's verse, it is mentioned one who gets human form of body should utilize it properly, because the human body is the only body which is the most rational among all the other bodies. Because one has got the intelligence to use this body in the other bodies cannot have that kind of rational to think about devotional service. They can only think about eating, sleeping, mating and defending. They cannot go anything higher than that. But the human form of body has got a intelligence, or they are rational in, as Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, to understand what is the higher principle about sleeping, eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So that is important principle which is mentioned. So Puranjana is going around different places, and coming to the 9 gates, he meets this woman whose name is Puranjani. So then he resides there, and then the next chapter, and he is enjoying in that city of 9 gates. And in the next chapter 26 is mentioned King Puranjana goes to the forest to hunt, and his queen becomes angry. So time to time, again, the whole pastime carries on, where King Puranjana is enjoying with his wife, and once he feels like recreation, so he goes to the forest killing animals. And when he comes back, he just takes rest, and then again he finds out that his queen is not there. And his queen was disappointed because he went for a long time and without satisfying her and leaving her behind. So then he pacifies the queen, and then they both live in that city of 9 gate for a long time, it is mentioned. And then the next chapter comes, where attacked by Chandavega on the city of Puranjana, the characters of Kalakanya. So in that chapter again it is mentioned how when Puranjana and his wife were living there and have many offsprings, they're enjoying the city for 100 years or something, it is mentioned, right? So they're enjoying the city for enjoying the kingdom for a long time. At that time, the city is attacked by Chandavega, the time. And then it is mentioned how Puranjana with his 5 hooded serpent, which are the it is mentioned unlimited desires. This hooded serpent represents unlimited desires, is not able to carry on the fight. And then eventually he loses the battle and he is killed. At that time he takes the body of a woman. And this woman was Vaidharbi, and she is married to the king of Maladhwaja. But fortunately enough, they are pious, and at the end of that chapter it is mentioned how Maladhwaja passes away and Vaidharbi is about to enter into the fire of Maladhwajas. So at that time, Avignata, who was old friend of Puranjana, appears again, who is a super soul, and he instructs Vaidharbi in the principles of self-realization and devotional service. And at the end, when she understands this, she remembers her past life and she does devotional service and gets liberation. So this is the 28th and 29th chapter, how it carries forward. So at the end, it is mentioned Prachinabhari gets this message, and he is about to Narad Muni instructs Prachinabhari to leave the kingdom and renounce. So he is waiting for his sons to come back. But then Narad Muni says, you cannot wait for your sons. Who were the sons of Prachinabhari? Prachetas, which were mentioned in the 24th chapter, right? So, 23rd. Yeah, 23rd chapter. So, in that it is mentioned the sons had gone for austerity. So Narad Muni preaches and gives the analogy of a deer, saying that you cannot wait for them to come back. You never know when they will come back, and you might waste your time. So he gives the analogy of deer who was attached, and then Prachinabhari understands this analogy and he leaves the message for them and renounces the kingdom. So this is where we are at the end of this chapter and this pastime as well. So in this, Srila Prabhupada makes this point that both humans and animals are rational. So as we discussed before, rational means intelligence, the presence of mind, and to seek future, foresightedness. So these are the two things. It's interesting, this was the question asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj to Bhishma Dev. It is, in Mahabharata, there is a long conversation between Bhishma Dev. After the battle of Mahabharata is over, Bhishma Dev is lying on the bed of arrows. At that time, all the Pandavas, all the sages, Krishna, they all come to meet Bhishma Dev. And it's not like they just met there one day and then they never came. No, it is over the several days they came. In the evening, they used to go back to their kingdom, and then again in the morning they used to come, and Bhishma Dev used to instruct them. So there is a long conversation, and in that conversation, Bhishma Dev gives a lot of instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And there are many stories that he mentions with different allegories and different examples. So just that particular conversation itself has got so much of instructions between Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthira Maharaj that it is interesting. You can derive many points from those instructions. So he mentions about this, how a human form of body, how a human being should utilize this life in spirituality, and what is his characteristics. At that time, Bhishma Dev mentions exactly this, two things, that one should have presence of mind, and one should be foresightedness. And so this was one of the questions asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj, how a king should utilize the living entities. And so this is two things, and he tells the story to explain this point of 3 fishes, Sukla fishes, which were in the water. And he said, of those 3 fishes, 1 fish was intelligent. She had a presence of mind. The second fish was foresighted. And the third fish was lazy, she used to procrastinate everything. So these were the characteristics of 3 fishes. So once when they were living in this small lake, the fisherman came and he was emptying the waters of the lake so that he can catch fishes. So the first fish, who was intelligent, she saw that the levels of the waters are reducing. So she told the other 2 fishes, it seems that somebody is going to capture us, so we should leave this place. But the other 2 fishes said, no, it should be okay, like waters keep rising and going down, so it's not a problem, we can live here. But the first fish, who was intelligent, she left the place immediately, and she went to the deeper waters. So the second and third fish, they eventually, when the waters were so low that they couldn't escape, there was a border which the fisherman closed off the border of the lake, and then at that time he caught all the fishes in the net. So this fish, who was foresighted, she saw that what the end is going to be. So she somehow escaped the net and grabbed onto the net from outside with her teeth, so that she is not caught back again. So when the fisherman got the net out and then took all the fishes, and on the way there was a big body of water. So the fish, who was foresighted, she just jumped off the net because she was anyways outside the net. So she jumped off the net because she knew that there is a bigger water on the other side. So she jumped off the net, and then the fish, who was procrastinating, who was lazy, who never thought about all these things, she got caught into the net and she died. So this is an interesting story which Bhishma Dev, on the bed of arrows, is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj how one has to be intelligent and foresightedness to escape this material world. If one does not have these 2 qualities, he will be trapped into the material world. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes this point that one should use one's reason to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for that is the perfection of human life. So whatever we are doing, at the end of the day, we should have utilized our intelligence, especially Rishabh Dev mentions in the 5th chapter of 5th canto. Nayam deho deha bhajam narloke kastam kamam arhate vidbhujamye tapodivyam putrakayena satvam sudye dashmat brahma saukyam tam anantam. So one who has received this body, especially human body, narloke, should not waste it in things, material things, which are even available to the Vedbhujam, a body of a hog. So one should utilize in tapodivyam, in higher austerities, spiritual things, so that one can brahma saukyam, one can attain the spiritual happiness. And then in the next verse it is mentioned how a desire to maintain body, wife, children is also observed in animal society. So even animals are rational in that way. They look after their offspring, they look after their possessions, they are possessive about their territories. So these all things are found in animal society as well. And then there is another question which is asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj, again to Bhishma Dev, in this. He's saying, why are the king called Naradeva? The Naradeva means the god on earth, earthly gods. And so why are they called Naradeva? At that time, Bhishma Dev mentions that the duty of a leader, of a king, is to make sure that there is perfect harmony, that is first thing. And second, there is no cheating propensity among the citizens. If people are not being punished, so he mentioned at that time, he mentions Danda Niti. Danda Niti means punishment has to be there. If the punishment is not given to the citizens, they will live like animalistic kingdom. It is same as one who is strong will suppress the weaker. And we see many of the places today, this is happening. People are not punished appropriately, or people don't fear punishment because they know even if they are punished, they will be out of the prison, or even in the prison the facilities are so nice that it's not bad to be there for some time. And then when they are out back again, they can carry on with their same activities, impious activities. So Bhishma Dev mentions this Danda Niti is very important. That if the people are punished sufficiently, then they will not commit any crime. So he mentions that in the Satyuga, the Danda Niti was so, it was not required. Because when the kings like Manu and Uttanapad and all these personalities were so, they were ruling so piously that the whole kingdom was flourishing by itself. There was abundance of everything. People, we have to understand when people, why are people corrupt, or why people have cheating propensity? Because they don't get sufficient. When there is scarcity, artificial scarcity is created. At that time, people, when they cannot satisfy the basic needs, they become, this cheating propensity arises. So it is mentioned, Bhishma Dev mentions that in Satyuga, there was no corruption. People were satisfied, fully satisfied in those rules. So there was no need for Danda Niti, but it was heavily imposed. Like if somebody committed a crime, then he was punished heavily, so that he does not commit the same crime again. So he mentions when that Danda Niti, when the punishment comes to 3/4, Dwapar Yuga begins. Treta Yuga begins. Then when it becomes to half, Dwapar Yuga begins. And when there is no Danda Niti, is not implemented, it's called Kali Yuga, where people don't fear punishment. So he emphasized this point, the king or a leader should impose this kind of punishments and regulations, and then everybody will fear the king. At the same time, everybody will look up to the king for any justice. So these are the two things the king has to follow. That is why he is known as Naradeva. Naradeva means God on earth. So this is the point Bhishma Dev mentions. So another point which is coming from this verses is human life is attained after many, many births, and one should utilize it properly. As Prahlad Maharaj again mentions, Kaumaram acharet pragno dharma bhagavatanya durlabha manusha janma tadapi adruvam arthadam. That this human life is rare, and one should practice devotional service right from the tender age of childhood. One should utilize. And he's saying one who has sufficient intelligence. Prahlad Maharaj in this translation, Prabhupada makes this point again. One who has got sufficient intelligence should utilize this form of human life. He should not waste it. And right from the beginning, he should utilize this. And it is mentioned in that verse, it is meaningful because in human life, one can perform devotional service. So it is, we have to understand this, because most of the people living on this planet, actually, they don't realize the fortune they have of possessing this human body. Because if you understand, none of the other species have got this facility where they can sit together, where they can discuss about spirituality, where they can understand the subject matter. Because the subject matter is something beyond, it is para, it is above the modes of material nature. So the only human being has got that intelligence where he can understand this subject matter. So one has to understand, one should not waste this human body just in eating, sleeping, mating and defending, which is available to the animals as well. So one has to first understand the rarity of this human life and the powers that one has, the intelligence one has. There's another story again, which is again mentioned by Bhishma Dev. Sorry, I've been reading Mahabharata, so this pastime was very interesting. Actually, I wanted to read one story from this discussion. So that is why I opened the book, and when I started reading, it was difficult to give it up. I thought, okay, let me read one more story, and let me read one more, and literally I read for like about 3-4 hours. It was so attractive, especially Mahabharata is for foolish people. It is Purana, so as foolish I am. So it was very attractive for me to keep on reading these instructions of Bhishma Dev. But the way Bhishma Dev answers the questions, because Yudhishthira Maharaj's questions are not like the questions two materialistic people would ask. And Yudhishthira Maharaj understands that this is the moment where Bhishma Dev is about to going to be living, and he's one of the Mahajans. So he's asking all the questions which are their subject matter is spiritual. It's related to the utmost important. So it is the most important thing. And the way Bhishma Dev answers is interesting. He gives a story and analogy and description for each and every question. So on this basis, like how it is mentioned, the life of a human being is the only one where one can understand, one has got the intelligence, rationality. So for that, Bhishma Dev mentions this story that there was one sadhu. He was very powerful sadhu. He did a lot of austerity. And by that austerity, he gained a lot of powers. And he was able to communicate to any species, actually. So that was the power of this sadhu. So once he had a dog. So this dog was always by the side of this sadhu, and when the sadhu used to do meditation, he used to sit there. So once this dog saw a leopard coming, a hungry leopard coming towards him, and dog started barking because he understood that it's the end now. And so he started barking. And the sadhu opened his eyes and saw that the leopard was coming to eat this dog. So he chanted a mantra and dog became a leopard. So immediately dog became a healthy leopard, strong leopard, and the other leopard who was coming immediately ran away. So now this leopard was sitting next to the sadhu and he's doing austerity meditation. At that time, So at that time, there was a tiger who was coming, and he saw the leopard. And as soon as he saw the leopard, the tiger was running to eat the leopard. And again, the sadhu realized, because he could understand, he could see the future. So he immediately chanted mantra, and the leopard became a tiger, a healthy tiger. So now he's a tiger. The other tiger just ran away, and he's moving around in the forest. So at that point, when this tiger was moving around in the forest, outside the ashram, there was a big elephant, mad elephant, who was rushing towards this tiger to crush him. And immediately again, the sadhu realized that this tiger is, my tiger is in, who is a dog, is in danger. So he chanted a mantra. The tiger became a big elephant, huge elephant. And the other elephant just ran away. And then again, he was meditating, and the elephant was in the ashram, he was sitting there. And then there, it is mentioned, there is a sabara animal who has got 8 feet and a huge eyes on the forehead. And he's huge, like, he's like a demonic beast. And that beast came and he was running to eat this elephant, kill this elephant and eat him. At that point, again the sadhu chanted a mantra, and this elephant became a sabara, huge sabara, demon. So the opposite party just ran away. He just became scared of him and ran away. But being in the body, it is Bhishmadeva explains this, that being in the body of a sabara, his consciousness was also like a sabara. So immediately after this sadhu made him a sabara, this sabara, the first thought came into his mind was, I am hungry, let me eat this sadhu. And sadhu realized what is going on in his mind. So he said, Puna mustika bhava. Srila Prabhupada explains this story of a mustika, right? But here Bhishmadeva explains it as, again he made him a dog. So again he became a dog, and he was sitting there in the ashram back again. So the point here Bhishmadeva explains is, only a human body has got the intelligence to understand spirituality. If you are in different bodies, you will act in that way. You have missed the chance. Once you have left the human, if you have not utilized your human form for spiritual life, and you have left this body and take another form, it's, even though you remember your past, you will not be able to gain. And we know this from the pastime of Bharat Maharaj. One has to come back into the spiritual. Bharat Maharaj is exalted devotee, so Lord gave him a memory. Lord protected him. So when, even though he was in the body of a deer, he remembered his past, and then he got a chance to become Jad Bharata again, and then he practiced perfectly, devotional service perfectly, and became liberated. So the point here it is mentioned is, one has to utilize his human form of body very intelligently, because once he misses this chance, he will have to go through the samsara chakra, which is a long journey. So make use of the body, human body that one has got. So then in the one of the verses it is mentioned in the last second last or last verse, it is mentioned that the nature of the living entity, again Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this on preaching, the nature of a devotee is that he is compassionate. So it is mentioned compassionate and humble. So these are the two qualities of a devotee. So regarding this, Bhishmadeva gives one more story. He says once when Ganges was merging into the ocean, there was a narration between, there was an interaction. So ocean is saying, oh Mother Ganges, when you come to me, you bring lot of trees, but you don't bring the small herbs and the canes and small plants. And so why is it that the trees are washed away in you, but the small plants are not there? So the Mother Ganges said that when I'm rushing, when my force is there, on the banks, whichever trees are there, sometimes my water rises, and those trees which are stubborn, they just get flooded into my waters. But the plants, the small plants and canes and shrubs, what they do is they just bend down and I just flow over them and they are not hurt. As soon as my water levels are down, they again come back. So the point Bhishmadeva is trying to mention is one has to be humble, especially when there is someone more powerful or senior to us. One should be humble and one should bow down. So if that is the quality of a devotee, then he is not affected by the external, by Maya, external energy. So, and Prabhupada makes this point, preaching is the essence, utility is the principle. Yaar dekhe, tare ka hai Krishna, updesh hamara agna, guru ho taraye desh. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this instruction that one should preach wherever one goes. One should try to preach as much as possible. And that is the real mercy. Preaching is the real mercy that one can show by revealing knowledge of spiritual existence. So it is mentioned, as it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidya Raja Goyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmam Susukham Kartum Abhyanam. Because by giving this real knowledge, one will realize Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmam. One will realize it's a personal realization. One will realize his eternal position. It's a direct perception. So when one realizes his eternal one becomes self-realized, it is joyfully performed. Susukam kartum avyayam. And one will realize that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. And in the last verse it is mentioned, the past, present and future are like the dream. So there was a very nice point I heard in the classes or in the last verses. It was mentioned that Lord Narayan is also in the dream state when he is breathing out and breathing in. Mahavishnu, when he is breathing out, what happens? Millions of universes are coming out of his pores, and when he is breathing in, all those universes are going back into the pores. But that state is the dream state, it's Yoga Nidra. So even Mahavishnu is in the dream state, and whatever is going on is also in the dream state. All the living entities, that what they are thinking is theirs, is also a dream state. So at the end of the day, what happens? Everything becomes, when you wake up, whatever dream you have been in, it has no meaning. You don't sit on it and dwell on it, right? You forget and move on with your life. So similarly, whatever is going on is in the dream state. And once that dream is finished, once we are back into the when Mahavishnu finishes his breathing out process and breathes in, everything is just zero. If whatever material things we have got becomes zero, because it's a dream state. At the same time, we have got this opportunity to get into our eternal state, which is the real state, which is the living entity. Jivera Sarupa Hoya, Krishnara, Nitya, Das. So that is our real position. When we get back to that position, that's when we become alive. That's when we really start living back again with Krishna in the spiritual world, or in the spiritual world. So okay, I'll stop here if there are any questions or comments.
So this comparison of Jantunam, so looks like the most of these science is what we call koshas, Annamaya kosha.
Yeah.
Correct? I mean, these 5 koshas.
That's right. Annamaya is the basic.
Yes, correct. The basic, the foundation is Annamaya kosha, then Pranamaya kosha, then Manomaya kosha, then Jnanamaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, then of course Anandamaya kosha. So essentially, the animals, jantus are mostly beings. The first level is Annamaya kosha.
That's right.
So they are not able to go up. So they are just leaving it Annamaya kosha only, or maybe a little bit up Pranamaya kosha.
That's right. Yeah, so most of the, thank you, it's a nice comment. So most of the people today are just on Annamaya or Pranamaya, so which is the consciousness of a baby. When the baby is born, the only thing he is thinking about is, give me food. I don't care who you are or what you are. As long as I get my food and my nappy is clean, I'm satisfied. Otherwise I'll start crying. Whatever the time is, doesn't matter whether my parents are sleeping or not. So that's Annamaya, which is a consciousness of just I, me and myself. So yeah, good point. Thank you. Yes, Mother.
Just a quick question. In the list of Mahajanas, when we say Kumara, Kapila and Manu. There's many Manus in one day of Brahma. That includes all the Manus.
That's right, 14 Manus in the day of Brahma. And some in that in the 7th chapter of second canto, it is mentioned how in the day of Brahma there are 14 Manus, and sometimes if a jiva is not qualified to be a Manu, the Lord himself becomes the Manu. Yeah. But it is also mentioned in there that there are millions of universes, and each of the universes have got multiple Manus. So it's not that it's just 14 Manus in this universe, but yeah, there are many, many Manus. So they are all Mahajans. Yes.
The point that you mentioned, rationality, about two functions, the mind and foreseeing. That's based on the desires, the living entity. So the function of the Shastras as a foreseeing, for example.
That's
I just
right.
want to ask, because it's the rationality as a part of function of the living entity, but you can have that foreseeing aspect just through the Shastras.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting point you mentioned. That's why it is known as Sastra Chakshu. Because for the devotees, we don't just see what our eyes see. We see through the eyes of the Shastra, because there are a lot of things we cannot see. If one comes, if a materialist, and that's why many of the materialists, they question, if God is there, why doesn't he come in front of us? If God is there, why is there so much of suffering in the world? But they don't understand that one does not suffer or enjoy because it's God's desire. One suffers and enjoys based on his own karma, and that kind of knowledge comes from the Shastra. One cannot prove that, like I'm enjoying or suffering, or I've got this particular body in this form because I had desired it in the past. So there is no way we can prove it. So one has to to some level we can prove it, because there are examples, different examples are there, where one remembers their past lives and they have got some scars from their past lives. So, but that is still, one has to believe in this, which comes from Shastra. Unless you are looking through the eyes of Shastra, it is very difficult for us to understand this material energy, how it is working. So as you said, yeah, it is true that foresightedness for a devotee comes from Shastra, but for that you need a little bit of intelligence, mind.
To access to that.
To access and to believe, to have faith in the Shastra. Shraddha is the most important thing in spiritual life. Without Shraddha, you cannot progress the 9 levels from Shraddha to Prema. Shraddha is the most important.
Also the validity of that foreseeing.
Yeah.
Quite important to base on Shastra.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, without Shastras, without the availability of Shastras, it's like Andhakupam. It is mentioned in that Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Gnanadvisaha. Dharma and Gnana disappeared as soon as Krishna went to the spiritual world. Krishna Swadhamo Pagate Dharma Gnanadvisaha Puranarko Dunondita. What is the second last line? Kalanasta Darsham Esha Puranarko Dhinondita. So in this Kali Yuga, which is a dark age, you cannot see this Puranarko, this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the light. Through that we can see the world. Okay, so we'll stop here. Granth Raj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.